surroundings. So given those circumstances, Mr. Chairman and members, I hope you'll be able to support this local initiative and its benefits that it brings.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. This was refused at Nelson Area Committee, hence it's been sent here. I mean, I've had an opportunity to look within the area, where the site is, and I'm comfortable with the application in terms of the way that it's set out, and obviously the conditions that are set out there to protect the residents as well. So I'm going to move from the chair to this application. I want to move that we approve the application. I'm looking for a second.
Can I second that, Mr. Chairman?
You want to clarify?
Just clarify your page 4. Is that actually a condition?
There is a condition.
How many that was?
It says no operations will take place between the 7th. Condition 15 is the construction benefit will be picked up before any work can start by our office in terms of some of the issues that are listed there, and obviously time will be yeah, the conditions in terms of hours in there. Yeah. Okay. All those in favour of granting this application, please show. That's carried. Thank you. Then we'll move on to the last one for this evening, which is direction of 98 dwelling houses, phases 1 to 3 of Borough Club 10. I have a number of speakers, and I'll take them in the order that they're written. Myra Ellis.
Can I ask Robin to take first, please?
Of course. Robin.
Good evening, everybody. So I and my colleagues on the Further Clefhead Action Group have major concerns about this planning application. Our misgivings pertain to road access, local infrastructure, topography, heritage and wildlife. And we are also concerned by the way in which the application has been handled. More than 200 public objections were raised at outline planning stage in 2017. Permission was passed regardless, and we don't know why we were disregarded. When reserved matters were announced, we requested a meeting with Pendle Borough Council chiefs to air residents' views. This took place in August and was attended by CEO Dean Langton, councillors Iqbal and Whip, all of whom were on the board of Pearl. They gave us the sense that they felt they were doing us a bit of a favour by being there, and we felt they were quite dismissive of our views and in some cases obstructive in their comments. Our overriding impression was that the procurement of a grant from Homes England towards the access road construction effectively trumped any objections that residents might have. I have a transcript of the meeting which I'm happy to share with you. We didn't get many answers. Some questions were deflected to other agencies, mostly Lancashire County Council. I met with a rejoinder that was addressed at outline planning stage, the same stage at which our objections were ignored. The decision notice in November 2017 sets out 21 conditions to be met at reserved matter stage, but we have yet to see evidence of this. Some consultee comments, such as United Utilities, remain unavailable. Others have been published, but with no indication that the developer has acted on them. Some consultees haven't even had the courtesy of a consultation, including Nelson Town Council. There is still much that we don't know, and we have listed conditions not yet met and other factors not considered for your information, and my colleague Alison will hand some of those out for you. Even the makeup of this committee feels wrong to us. The residents of Marsden and Southfield, they will bear the brunt of disruption from this build before, during and after, and they have no representation here. Most committee members are from outside Nelson. Is this democracy? Further Cloughhead is not the only development in planning for the Southfield area. A full planning application has been received for the neighbouring Jimmy Nelson site. And if this goes ahead, there will be another 114 households competing for school and GP places. Another 300 vehicles on Barker House Road. But the Jimmy Nelson application is much more comprehensive than this one. We can see where the drainage easements go. It has a detailed travel plan. Developer contributions have been costed. It feels to us, could it be one rule for Pearl together and another for everybody else? You cannot make an informed decision on this planning application without full public disclosure of information. And until we get the answers that we and you deserve, we believe this application should be rejected, or at the very least, your decision should be deferred. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Myra, do you want to speak now, or?
Yeah, that's fine, I'll speak now.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mr Chairman, councillors and committee members. I have concerns about the pressure this development will place on our already overstretched local infrastructure. Chapter 8 of the National Planning Policy Framework, Promoting Healthy and Safe Communities, states that planning policies and decisions should work to widen people's choice in education. But school places are already hugely oversubscribed in Nelson, and many families have no choice at all. They have to take what they get, even if this means busing their children to school or schools in other parts of the borough. The same lack of choice applies to health services, with many residents travelling miles to see a dentist or a GP. I personally travel 7.5 miles to my dentist. All these unnecessary journeys, burning fossil fuels, disrupting people's lives, occur because demand outstrips capacity at the most basic level. So what effect will this another 98 dwellings on Further Clough Head, or more than 320 if all developments currently in planning stages go ahead to full capacity, have on the NPPF's goals for sustainability? We asked the council chiefs. They stated it wasn't their problem, but rather something for LCC and NHS to deal with. It's quite usual for developers to pay to mitigate the burden they place on local services. Planning obligations under Section 106 of the Town and County Planning Act 1990 are mechanisms which make a development proposal acceptable in planning terms. The liability of Pearl Together to enter into an S106 agreement to contribute towards education costs has been waived for 2 years. Not so the Jimmy Nelson developers. A document on the LCC school planning team has already calculated their contribution towards 7 secondary school places at just over £169,000. At outline stage, LCC stated it would be seeking a contribution of £125,000 over 5 years towards the running of the number 95 bus service, but there is no mention of this in the reserve matters. Whilst we're not suggesting that Pearl Together are getting special treatment, or that having the council in a developer's role helps to oil the wheels of the planning process, it is clear that permitting the building of another 98 or 200 dwellings will only serve to further reduce people's choice in education, as well as transport and healthcare, and that this is contrary to Chapter 8 of the NPPF. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine Price.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to raise concerns about the adverse effects this development will have on ecology and the ethics of building on greenfield land. The National Planning Policy Framework, NPPF, Chapter 11, entitled Making Effective Use of Land, states that planning policies should make as much use as possible of brownfield land, and that decisions should recognise that some undeveloped land can perform many functions, such as for wildlife, recreation, flood risk mitigation, cooling, shading, carbon storage or food production. But in the case of this development, far too little consideration has been given either to alternative brownfield sites within Nelson or to the value that Further Clough Head has as undeveloped land. Further Clough Head performs many functions to benefit residents, not least as a valuable recreation space. It is home to a wide range of wildlife, according to the NPPF Chapter 15 entitled Conserving and Enhancing the Natural Environment, Habitats and Biodiversity, plans should identify, map and safeguard components of local wildlife and promote the conservation, restoration and enhancement of priority habitats, ecological networks and the protection and recovery of priority species. An ecological survey by Pennine Ecological in July 2017 failed to map or fully identify the rich diversity of the wildlife in this area, which includes badgers, deer, buzzards and even rare wild orchids. And it stated incorrectly that there are no badgers present, and you will see there is proof of badgers living in the area coming round. There are no badgers present, whereas they are regularly seen in the area, and we have dated video footage and photos to prove this. There are at least 2 badger sets. One is within the boundary of the build, which is also indicated on the map, and has been documented on planning application 190254 OUT. And are badgers not a priority species, and do they not warrant the protection we believe that they do? A more recent bat survey in summer 2019 revealed an abundance of bat activity in and around the site, and admits that any increased current light levels will have a negative impact, but it proposes no real solution other than low-level lighting on pathways. No one can police the lighting in residents' back gardens, so more houses mean more light pollution, which in turn means fewer bats. Any development which proposes to cut down trees and build over green space, diminishing our defence against carbon build-up, is contrary to current views on combating climate change. And a survey which I read online, commissioned by Friends of the Earth in 2019, found that Pendle, I was ashamed to say, is only 40% climate friendly and is only 4% covered by woodland, compared with 13% in similar sized areas of the country. We are aware of the argument that it costs more to build on brownfield sites, but places like Further Clubhead really are priceless, and we should be protecting them for future generations and not selling them off for profit. And surely the council should be setting a good and green example to all its residents, and one that we can be proud of.
Alison, Simcox.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to address the issues of access and road safety. The National Planning Policy Framework, Chapter 9, states that transport issues should be considered from the earliest stages of plan making and development proposals to address the potential impacts on transport networks and identify and assess the environmental impacts of traffic and transport infrastructure, including appropriate opportunities for avoiding and mitigating any adverse effects. It also states that any significant impacts on the development on the transport network or on highway safety should be cost effectively mitigated to an acceptable degree. The mini roundabout at the junction of Barker House Road and Morsinghall Road South is the main access point to the proposed estate and is already overstretched, and larger vehicles struggle to negotiate it. We have photos to prove this. If Further Clubhead goes ahead, it will need to accommodate an extra 300 plus vehicular movements per hour in peak time. Lancashire County Council highway figures from 2017 state that, but there is nothing on the planning system to explain how this will be accomplished. We, me personally, who use this road on a daily basis, can tell you what is needed. We need safe places to cross. We need parking controls. We need measures to slow down speed in traffic and catch those who blatantly ignore these road rules. In our meeting with the chiefs, we were told they plan to improve the roundabout by adding anti-slip road surfaces. Experience tells us that the only way to make the roundabout cope with a threefold increase in traffic is to enlarge it. At our meeting with the chiefs, we were also told that the developers would abide by conditions set by LCC. And we have an email from Mr. Stephen Young, LCC's Transport Director, stating that the development cannot commence until a scheme of improvement works for the mini roundabout has been submitted and approved in writing by the local planning authority. At the same time, we have evidence in writing from LCC Highways stating they have not yet seen any plans from Pendle Borough Council. LCC Highways set several conditions at outline stage in 2017, including a requirement for a framework travel plan to ensure the developers have considered sustainable transport options and a construction method statement. There is nothing available to view on the planning portal. Are we wrong to expect that all documentation on road safety and construction should be available to view? Who will take responsibility for this junction? Who will foot the bill for improving it? Who will take responsibility for maintaining existing highways properly? Do we, the residents, or any of you, have to wait until somebody is killed before someone takes our concerns seriously? Without a clear vision of how the developer intends to address this matter, we simply don't know if transport issues have been adequately considered or the impacts of the development fully, indeed how developers plan to mitigate adverse effects on traffic and transport infrastructure or on highway safety. As such, this application fails to meet requirements laid out in the National Policy Planning Framework and should not be passed until requirements can be fully met. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alison.
Paul Simcock.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and councillors and committee members. I'm unhappy with the design of the houses, which doesn't reflect the area, and it could even damage our local heritage, and I question their green credentials. The National Planning Policy Framework, Chapter 12, achieving well-designed places states that planning policies and decisions should ensure that developments are sympathetic to local character and history, including the surrounding built environment. The Borough's own heritage statements make much of respecting local character, using local materials and creating views. But the designs we're presented with, timber frame construction with rendered panels, effectively modern prefabs, fails to reflect or complement the heritage in the area, much of which comprises of sturdy stone-faced Victorian terraces, fields divided by dry stone walls, and virtually all other modern estates in Nelson have incorporated local stone features in their design, but not for the fair. The NPPF Chapter 6, conserving and enhancing the historic environment, examines the potential impact of developments on heritage assets. The developer's own archaeological assessments reveal that there are some unique archaeological remains hidden beneath the vertical head, including an enclosure dating back to prehistoric times and an old tram road. The assessment summary recommends that archaeological interventions take place to ascertain the character and condition of the surviving archaeology deposits within the site area. But there is nothing in the plan to say who will do this or how will it be done, and something does need to be done before this history is buried. So I'm also concerned about the sustainability of the houses. At consultation we were told that by the architect, that the heating would be by gas boiler. A report by the Committee on Climate Change says that from 2025 at the latest, no new homes should be connected to the gas grid, with low carbon energy sources being used instead. Of these houses, so if these houses are intended to ultimately replace current building stock, much of which has stood for over a century, they should provide the best possible alternative from their design to their sustainability. There's other things that concern me about this meeting tonight. We've heard from one or two councillors about county council, or county council this, county council support this, county council support that. We've also heard county council don't support this. County council have concern for education. Yet, Julie, at the meeting that I had with her last year, said it wasn't her concern. It didn't bother her. It was not her concern. It was the concern of the NHS over the doctors and everything else. It's a concern of Lancashire County Council over the schools and everything else. I pointed out at that time that it's the concern of every individual that has access or doesn't have access to quality facilities. These comments have been largely ignored as far as I'm concerned. We've also heard about, reduced fees, reduced income to the council. Yeah, millions of pounds go to one company in conjunction with the council. One company. Why can there not be a pearl arrangement with several companies? Why can there not be competition with the council? Why can there not be? Why is it one company? I keep asking this question. One company, millions of pounds. Why? Where is it going? You tell me. We ask for information. What do we get? We get a blanket cover on the accounts are published. No, the accounts are not published. The detailed accounts are not published. We asked for them. We didn't get them. We want them. We can't have access to them. I said to Julie in an email that if you've nothing to hide, open your doors. There's nothing to hide. There's no problem. What do I get? Nothing. Should we refer this matter on to someone else who can look into the council? I'm asking. We want information. Where is it? We want to know where that money, where our assets, it's not your assets, it's our assets. Where are they going? Where is that money going? Millions of pounds. We're talking the last decade here. Millions of pounds. Many projects. Where's that money going? It belongs to us. You telling us we don't have money. Yeah, at the same time, Borough Construction Part of Pearl is getting a very, very nice company. Where's that money going? We want to know. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Next speaker is Malcolm Foster.
Perhaps I should say at the beginning that whilst I respect the request not to be suggestively voted before, it's very difficult to cherry pick out one moment and I've got to be less than 5 minutes, so I hope you'll take part of that. Well, my name is Malcolm Foster and I've lived at the top of Oak House for some 50 years. When I entered this proposed housing plan whilst at a local church meeting, I became quite concerned about the likely impact of the Borough on this part of Nelson. For me, this falls into 3 main areas, which are, as already touched on, I apologise for that. But the first one, the infrastructure. It seems to me that this is simply not yet in place to meet the additional needs, such as doctors, surgeries, dental practices, care homes, school and nurseries places with unavailability. St John's Primary School is full capacity, they told me that yesterday, and there's Walton schools as well, there's a waiting list there. As I understand it, the suitability of access roads is also questioned. It is easy to place responsibility for all these on to Lancashire County Council, the NHS, the Education Department, etc., but they need to be in place first. The skilled nurses, doctors, dentists, teachers, etc., and suitable facilities cannot be put up overnight. So to me, taking that stance is an application of duty both to local residents and to newcomers. Number 2, the traffic levels. This is something I'm very concerned about, along with many others, I'm sure. along with upwards of 200 new homes added to the 25 or so recently built in the Northern area, comes the potential for perhaps an extra, according to the figures I've heard, I read it as being 400 to 500 cars, I can't be certain about that, per day on an office estate. Not forgetting visitors, tradesmen, deliveries, etc., all of which I understand will flow in and out of Marsmore Road West and Walker House Road roundabout. To me, plan changes at this point will make little improvement. Surely most of this traffic will be en route to and from Nelson Centre and the M65 motorway. Therefore, sending it all the way up to the top there to have it travel all the way back down Walker House Road seems to make no sense. Just adding time, pollution and congestion to each trip. If there has to be an access road at the Southfield Street area for emergency vehicles, which I understand there is, has to be, surely this can also take some of this extra traffic. Surely that route is also more suitable as it is a more industrialised area. Number 3, works instruction. This will only last a certain period, but I don't think this issue should be overlooked. There will be many months of disruption, dirt and noise by the movement of construction equipment, supply wagons, poorly constructed buildings, so I believe there's possible power driving needed for any bottle pits present on what I understand was previously mining land. All happening close to a densely populated area with narrow streets and congested roads. It will inevitably cause considerable nuisance and inconvenience, and for how long? Just quickly to finish, can I also add that 42 years ago, as recorded in these newspaper cuttings, a planning application was submitted to the rock and quarry waste and cattle quarry to the M65. Lasting up to 10 years, this would have meant having 10 to 12 wagons a day negotiating Walker House Road, equating to one passing by every 2 to 3 minutes, but that was only weekdays. It is obvious that traffic levels have significantly increased since then, and its traffic level concern was part of that decision. I trust that the same criteria will be applied to this plan. As one article states, I was of the opinion that local residents were not sufficiently warned about the impact of that development and given little time to raise concerns. And I am worried that this is now the case and will respectfully correct the request that any final decision might be postponed until further public consultations take place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Mr. Stephen Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. I'm the treasurer of the Valley Mills and Local Society, and I'm here to represent our members. I would like to raise concerns about the topography of the land and its suitability as a safe site for development. Residents have long doubted the survivability of building on further Clough Head, given its past use as an area of coal mining and a landfill site. This is where Lustre was dumped, where acid waste, we know the land is unstable, areas of suffered landslip and Messenger Street, earmarked as an access route for emergency vehicles, is built directly on top of buried waste. Land show the road was moved because it was unstable. There are some pictures coming round. 3 of them show the aerial topography of Jimmy's and the Messenger Street site. On the second one, you'll notice there are some blue lines coming down from the top of Messenger Street site. There is also photographic evidence here. These are local natural springs that come up off the ground and go back down and raise again and go back down. Anyway, in 2016, when outline planning was first applied for the Code Authority Comments November 14, 2016, revealed that the site falls within a defined development high-risk area and that there are 2 recorded mine entries. One within the site of one and one within 20 metres of the planning boundary. The report recommends that conditions be imposed by a local planning authority to ensure site investigations are carried out. Findings reported and necessary remedial work identified